the influencers are actually adding brand awareness. They're creating the type of content that the brands are wanting to repurpose for their own. They're not bringing in the immediate sales, but they are helping with that brand awareness, much like PR has done for all these years. So proving to the brands that influencers are going to help them introduce those new audiences. We'll set up a campaign, we'll set it up for 3 to 6 months, and the clients that we've had for year over year, they're now doubling down and tripling down on those budgets because they are really happy with the type of content that's coming in. It's not always coming through the affiliate channel, but when they spend money with these campaigns, they will see their business grow.
You are listening to Power Marketing with Kevin Lee. Kevin and his agency Did It have helped thousands of businesses win through superior marketing, as have his books, articles, speaking engagements, and the E-Marketing Association Power Marketing Podcasts. Here's Kevin.
I'm Kevin Lee with the E-Marketing Association. I also own an agency, didit.com, that's been around in some form or another since '96. So we're a SaaS platform for the first 10 to 12 years, and then pivoted into becoming more of an agency. I also own a brand, Truth Nutrition. I own an affiliate-powered charity mall, Giving Forward. So I'm involved in the performance-based marketing industry. So that's why I'm super excited to be chatting with Greg Hoffman today, who runs Apogee agency, which really focuses primarily on the affiliate ecosystem, but that's somewhat broadened. So one of the first things I wanted to jump in on, Greg, is this sort of merging of performance marketing, affiliate marketing, and influencer marketing. And for a lot of folks who are sort of either lump them all in the same bucket or think they don't deserve to be in the same bucket, I'd love to get your take on sort of what the nuances are for that.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Thank you. So in 2018, I was at a conference with some friends. I was at an affiliate summit. It was one of those that I was speaking at, and we were standing in the hallway. And I think it was someone walked by with a badge that said CNN, and we looked at each other like, did that say CNN? And then a few minutes later, someone else walked by on their way into a session, and they had a badge that said Forbes. And we were like, well, what's going on here? We've never seen major media show up to an affiliate summit before. And that was the first sign that things were about to change in the industry. And so over the last 7 years, we've seen that, I call it a triangle, but it was more of a marriage between performance public relations, influencer marketing, and traditional affiliate marketing. And the pandemic made all of that really possible and accelerated everything. But now it's for our agency, it is everyday business where we are not only talking with influencers and creating campaigns, we're still talking to the traditional affiliates, and we're now doing performance PR and buying placements on major media publications.
Yeah, that's fascinating because, coming at it from originally having been in SEO and paid search, right? We saw this sort of intersection and confluence occur from a different perspective. We do a fair amount of performance-based media, and so there's some interesting overlap because often the catalyst for us going out there and buying branded placements is the byproduct of not just the performance side of it, but the fact that that gets indexed by the chatbots and actually helps power GEO, at least for the time being, right? So it's sort of weird that, no matter which lens you come at this from, there are some best practices of channels and tactics that you should be thinking about. And depending on which lens you look at it from, you may not even realize, like, oh, when I go and buy this paid branded content at this publisher, that might actually influence SEO and GEO, not just the pure performance side of things. So it's interesting how you described it as sort of, performance PR, right? Because it looks and smells like editorial, but it's really advertorial. And of course, it requires that FTC disclaimer on there, at least in the United States.
Well, and that doesn't always happen. We know that.
No, we know that. Well, I mean, that didn't happen back in the days of buying links either, right? From a pure SEO basis. So there's certainly been a fair amount of gray hat marketing that occurs at the fringes as well.
We've been dealing more with commerce editors. And so that's not just the editors that the journalists report to. It's not the advertising side. It's a new generation of editors that are there specifically to help those publications make more money. And they are now doing it by using affiliate links. They still, charge the brands to create the content, but they're using affiliate links to monetize it on the back end.
Yeah, for sure. They go with all sorts of different group names within the publication, right? Whether it's a broadcaster or more traditional print-based publication online, textual as opposed to video. And they call them content studios, and some of them are video centric, like the CNNs of the world, but have a textual component. Others that come at it from much more of the written word, like Entrepreneur Magazine or Forbes, right? And so it is really fascinating. So as you're working through with clients and thinking through strategically, we want to put our budgets where they work hardest, right? And within performance-based marketing and affiliate marketing and influencer marketing, it tends to still be very much a last click attribution kind of an ecosystem. So I'd love to hear from you how you sort of talk through this concept of budgeting, where you put the budget, how fluid is the budget as it moves around within sort of the Impact, CJs, and Rocketons of the world in comparison to some of the other opportunities you have available.
Well, I'm trying to steal as much budget from other channels as possible. Um, and we've been able to do that by proving that the influencers are actually adding brand awareness. They're creating the type of content that the brands are wanting to repurpose for their own. They're not bringing in the immediate sales, but they are helping with that brand awareness, much like PR has done for all these years. So proving to the brands that influencers are going to help them introduce those new audiences. We'll set up a campaign, we'll set it up for 3 to 6 months. And the clients that we've had for year over year, they're now doubling down and tripling down on those budgets because they are really happy with the type of content that's coming in. It's not always coming through the affiliate channel, but when they spend money with these campaigns, they will see their business grow. And it's the same way with the performance PR, the major media publications. We'll see a big spike in sales, but over time, we'll still see a trail of sales over the next 6 months from some of those placements, but it's also the audiences that they're introducing to. So the more case studies we have, the more opportunity we have to steal budget from other channels. Especially January, we're kicking off our Q1 campaigns, and a lot of our clients have given us bigger budgets. I don't have access to exactly what the other marketing channels are happening or what they're doing, but I'm happy that our budgets have been growing year over year for the last few years.
For sure. One of the things that started happening, probably it's 5 or 6 years ago, with regards to using influencers and personalities and creators, whatever nomenclature you want to use for them, is that you started to look at them through the lens of it's not just their reach, right? But that as creators, they have a unique take on something. And then in some cases, depending on the deal that you do, you'll end up using the creative that they create and actually putting budget behind it and running it in media, right? Because these folks were charismatic and authentic and everything that you would want in an ad, but it came through an influencer or creator channel. So I'd love to hear how you're thinking about that this year, because now there's a bit of folks starting to mix in AI. A lot of folks think about AI as slop on the creative side, but we've seen some really interesting situations where AI-based creative is sort of breaking through in certain locations, particularly YouTube video assets. And so, how should marketers think about, when they're using the combined influence and reach of an influencer or creator, along with access to that creative in comparison to other creative sources?
In our campaigns, we build in the rights for at least 6 months. And so that's very important for our clients that they have that available creator content for use in ads or wherever they want to repurpose it. But the we haven't seen AI yet, not in any of our campaigns. The way we structure our campaigns is, we'll go find 10 people a month, uh, and then after 3 or 4 months, we cycle through 30 or 40 people. Then we'll go back and we'll decide, okay, let's take a month off and let's double down on some of the ones that actually gave us sales, or the ones that we really like. And so we've done boosting in the middle, the ones that turn out fantastic content. But we do like to go back and make sure we reward those creators with some type of boost, and so they can see some type of return, and getting some of those sales. But we going back to the AI thing, we I don't know how we would approach that. I Because our clients right now are very spoiled. Our campaigns are run by Lindsay Kometz. She's the president of Apogee, and and I think we're going to be experimenting with it. But right now, I think our clients are very happy with the authentic talking head type of videos and reviews. We'll have to experiment with AI to see if they have the stomach for it yet.
For sure. So one of the things that's very topical now, it's sort of breaking news as of the last couple of weeks, was Honey getting shut off within the major networks as a result of their apparently, according to the research that was done by some pretty reputable folks, them failing to stand down on overwriting the cookies and taking credit for the sale. So I'd love to get your point of view on that. Um, Obviously, the major networks have their rules and guidelines as to when you can and can't choose to set that cookie that at that last click, which of course in the case of software is always the last one, right? Because it's triggered based on visitation of the thank you page or visitation of a shopping cart or sometimes just domain visitation. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that as an agency who sort of sits between the publishers and or creators who want to be treated fairly and the marketers who are just looking to make sure that they can maximize what the channel has to bring.
Well, I'm going to choose my words very carefully. I have a very long history of talking about this, and I could probably talk for the next 2 hours, but I don't want to get in too much trouble. Um, so one thing that we've always done is we've always been advocates for publishers. We're advocates for the brands that pay us. We're advocates for the content creators that help us get to where we're going. But a long time ago, we did start working with Coupon and some of the cashback and loyalty partners. And I will say that Honey, especially in 2021, 22, they had a very large, wonderful, nice team that we worked with. I'm I would prefer, I've never used a toolbar, but they they were very good to the agencies. They were uh, very accommodating. I've paid attention to the news. I've seen what Ben Edelman has been talking about. Um, and I guess I was surprised more that they were going after Honey and not all of them. Uh, I've got a long history with not being nice towards Rakuten Ebates, because early on in my career they were always demanding last click. They didn't like it when we worked with advanced attribution lines. As soon as we took over a program in the now defunct ShareCell network, we had advanced contribution or advanced lines, and when we tried to bring Ebates in, they said no, we don't do that. We need last click. So I guess I was surprised that we always had a good experience with Honey. I was surprised that they went after them first. But and I've always teased all of my network friends that network compliance is an oxymoron. And I cannot say that this week because the networks are they're responding. We're fresh off of Affiliate Summit. Megalog came out with another video. Ben has continued pushing the narrative on LinkedIn, and so the networks are responding, and I think it's a good topic to have because we've been talking. Some of us have been talking about this for the last 15 years. Some of us have been talking about it for 20 years. So it's good that the conversation is happening. Um, my programs, we are not heavy on coupon or cashback. So when uh, Honey was suspended in Impact, none of my programs were they weren't devastated like I imagined some of the big programs were. Yes, we do have Honey in some of our programs, and I did see that PayPal responded to one of the journalists this week that it was a bug in their coding from before they bought Honey, and it only happened in a less than 1% of the transactions. It doesn't matter. It still happened, and I'm glad that the conversation is happening now. But I would like to see proof that they're going to start playing nice and that the watchdogs are going to keep watching them.
For sure. I used to be on the plugin side back when I had WeCare.com. I think that was when we met when I was running the precursor to Amazon Smile, which we had a partnership with Amazon and a bunch of other merchants as well. And we always were careful, right? We didn't want to step on toes. But the technology at the time, and hopefully it's changed now, but the technology at the time sometimes made it pretty difficult for us to know what else was there, right? In order for us to stand down, because we don't have access, cookie domain level cookie segmentation makes it difficult to code things that are perfect, right? Especially if the cookie was set 4 days ago with a previous visitation or something along those lines. So, do you feel like the networks have to make it easier as well for the software-based plugins and toolbars to stand down? Should they really make that SDK easier, right, to use so that you don't have to, worry?
They're absolutely not going to make it easier. There's no way they're going to make it easier.
No,
They're
easier to
just
stand down, right? When you don't when overwriting a cookie.
right. I don't think they're going to make it easier. I think they're going to make the publishers figure it out themselves.
I see. Interesting. Yeah, because I think that was you were talking about how compliance was sort of an oxymoron, right? And from that perspective, interests aligned in the short term versus interests aligned in the long term, right? And being fair, in the end, um, a lot of the stuff that ends up bubbling into litigation is really about fairness and things being equitable. And you being in the publisher camp, right? A lot of folks would classify some of the toolbars as publishers as well, right? At least under which bucket they fall. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Any predictions as to how long any suspension might last and what the ripple effect might be?
I mean, PayPal is a huge business, so I think they're just going to put as many engineers on it as possible, and I would imagine it's going to be resolved pretty quickly because being kicked out of Impact, not just the marketplace, but being suspended, it has got to be hurting their business. And I know that uh, they don't have the large customer service employee numbers that they used to. So I think the Honey team is a lot smaller than it was 4 or 5 years ago. But I think on the tech side, they're going to be fixing this because they're probably hurting pretty bad right now.
Right, right. So let's move to the bigger picture. For 2026, across the affiliate marketing ecosystem, and maybe this was a topic that came up at ASW, what should the affiliate teams be thinking of that perhaps they're not thinking of as much as they should in as they roll out more and more things for 2026 or decide where to place their budgets and place their punches?
It's a good question, and I don't have an answer for it. I think for us, it's just pushing forward. It's trying to because I'm a small agency. I've always been a small agency. I always will be a small agency. I've when I started 20 years ago, there weren't a lot of large agencies, and I think now for us, it's just making sure that we are servicing our clients and trying to find new clients that are ready for affiliate marketing. I say no to a lot of brands, and I think I think that's the important part is we want to make sure that we are helping as many brands as possible, whether they've worked with agencies before or not, but also letting them know that there are now hundreds of independent agencies that didn't exist 5 years ago. So just from the agency perspective, I want to make sure that some of the really good agencies out there that have been advocates and educators and part of the industry, that they're not going to hurt, because on Reddit, on LinkedIn, Substack, I read all the time, oh, I'm starting a new affiliate marketing agency. Why? I've got socks that are older than you. Why would you even think about that? I am an advocate for the few mom and pop agencies that are left, and I want to make sure that we still have a piece of the pie in the next 5 to 10 years. So that is my focus this year, is to make sure that we've got a future for the next 5 to 10 years, and it's not going to be diluted um, by other channels trying to step in and restake their claim on those budgets, or the smaller agencies, the newer small agencies that are trying to jump in and grab some of the market share.
So one of the things that's changed in the last year, obviously, is the shift of some people's searching behavior to the answer engines and away from the Google and Bing SERP, which results in a zero-click brand engagement often, right? So the idea of there even being links in some cases is not there. Like you may have something happen, something that a creator created pops up in a chat GPT result, then the person goes and does a direct navigation to a brand, or then they do a Google search on the brand name, right? And so then they direct navigate out of a SERP. And it makes measurement a lot more difficult, right? I mean, in the good old days, which may not have been so good, right? It was sort of easier, right? You didn't have third-party cookie deprecation issues in Safari, and you didn't have all of these other issues that made it, data leakage. And in order for publishers and creators to be properly compensated, right, you need a somewhat robust data infrastructure, right, to be able to say, okay, this person had a pretty strong influence in the sale. Maybe it even wasn't the last click because the person direct navigated, or the person did a Google search on the brand name and then direct navigated. And so, but yet through other forms of testing and timestamping, you're pretty confident that this channel, this publisher, whatever, this influencer had a positive influence on the sale. So how do you think the industry needs to evolve as the data bucket gets increasingly leaky, right? Where you just can't always measure.
Couple things. So that's why we pay influencers up front, or when they turn in their content. That's why we have those extra budgets for them, because we want that user generated content. We're paying them for their time and their resources. They're not always going to make money on the affiliate links. But now this is the wild west of AI. And so when did Google search start? What was that, 2005, 2006, somewhere around there?
Yeah, they a little bit earlier.
All right, so that was the wild west of search, and I think we're about to enter the new wild west of ads in LLMs. So I think, and I did. This is not my idea. I did read this somewhere recently, that I think the future is that either traditional affiliates or even some content creators are going to have to start buying ads to support the organic creations. And whether or not the brands are going to allow them to do that, there's lots of ifs, but I can see where bloggers really don't exist that much anymore. They all became influencers. But I think some of the traditional listicles or comparison sites that are creating this content, I think they're going to have to start buying ads to support their content, because they're going to have to buy ads in the LLMs. So there is some type of tracking. And what does that tracking look like? I have no idea. But I can imagine affiliates are going to have to start spending more to remain relevant.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, when you describe it that way, you start to see the parallels between publishers and broadcasters, which are sort of the old school content machines, right? And some of the bigger influencers who are starting to look a lot like a publisher or broadcaster in the way they run their business, right? They've got the earned content that's just there for clickbait or whatever. Then they've got other stuff which is a little more topical, and then they've got an audience development team is what you'd call it at a publisher or broadcaster, the marketing team that goes out and buys media or tries to become more visible, right? And then you've now got those same kind of roles at the big organizations. I don't think necessarily Mr. Beast has an arbitrage opportunity that he's taking advantage of, but he certainly gets a ton of PR. He has the team that makes sure that he's out there getting PR. He's co-creating content in ways that other folks would envy, right? And so you sort of see these interesting parallels between some of the bigger influencers and creators and the broadcasters and publishers. So the lines are getting pretty blurry.
And the question is, how do the smaller to mid-size ones compete?
Yeah, on both sides, especially when
Right.
their organic search traffic is down by 40%, which it often is due to the changes in the Google SERP. Um, So yeah, I mean, it's clear that the velocity of change is faster than ever before. I think that's scary to a lot of folks in the performance marketing and affiliate marketing industry. But at the same time, I think opportunities are bubbling up. Was there any theme that you heard repeated a few times at Affiliate Summit West that you think is worth highlighting or mentioning?
Well, I didn't go. It's been a couple years since I went, but I read all the recaps. Yeah, they definitely talked about AI a lot this year. So the big topics were AI and and honey. So that was the locker room talk, the hallway, the bar talk, uh, because it was the big news that happened just before Summit. So reading the newsletters and the recaps either on Slack groups or in LinkedIn, it helps keep me informed on what's going on.
Great. Well, thanks so much for sharing your points of view. A lot of fascinating stuff there. Look forward to catching up in the future. You mentioned you've got a book that is in process, so we'll look forward to hearing more about that the next time we catch up.
Absolutely.
Kevin Lee's Power Marketing is available on all your favorite podcast networks. Kevin loves helping businesses excel at marketing. Having marketing challenges? Just like Santa in The Miracle on 34th Street, if Kevin can't help you, he'll know someone who can. Find him on LinkedIn, subscribe, or follow.